At the beginning film, we are shown a young man named Yeon who is hacking a company system secretly. Then suddenly, a guard came on night patrol. Yeon panicked and tried to hide. After feeling safe, he tried to leave after hearing the guard pass through the door. But it turns out he was trapped by the guard. Luckily, his friend helped from a distance by turning off the electricity, so he could escape. But due to a power outage, the elevator was not working and he was forced to go down the emergency stairs. However, after he managed to get out, the problem was not over because he had to face another guard. Before they fight, we are taken back 3 years to 2018 to be precise. It focuses on Yeon who is investigating his father's death. However, here his father's death, when, where, and what caused it, is still not explained. 2 years have passed after his father's death and until now Yeon's father's case has made no progress, which means the cyber police have made false promises to Yeon, making him angry. Yeon even terrorized the police to immediately investigate his father's case. Unfortunately, the police avoided saying that he had many cases other than his father's, which were more urgent. And in that second, Yeon realized that the cyber police could not be relied on. He also knew that his father's case was not a priority for the police, and therefore Yeon can't just give up. He was determined to solve the case that befell his father himself and therefore decided to become a hacker. Sometime later, Yeon is now studying computer science. With a scholarship, he studied at the same campus as Joo-hee, an old friend from their high school. But his best friend is an art student. Day by day their friendship grew stronger. Every day they met and were always together. Like this morning, Yeon approached Joo-hee who was going to campus in a hurry. After being asked by Yeon, it turned out that this morning Joo-hee wanted to immediately go to the sports hall to watch her dream boy from high school, namely Chan-ho. Coincidentally, Chan-ho also studied at the same campus as them. And now the man is known as a fencing athlete, more or less the same as he was in high school. Chan-ho is still the dream guy and dream of all the women on campus. Chan-ho is famous for being smart and he is also an athlete. Not only that, Chan-ho is also known to not have a relationship with anyone, aka single. This makes all the women queue up to want to be his girlfriend, including Joo-hee. However, behind Joo-hee's joy towards Chan-ho, there is someone who is secretly disappointed. Yes, that person is Yeon. From high school until they are in college now, Yeon never expressed his feelings to Joo-hee because he didn't want to ruin their friendship, thereby leaving his feelings unrequited. And for now, Yeon has to let himself pretend to be happy seeing Joo-hee who seems to really like Chan-ho. While Yeon was studying, he worked part-time as an internet cafe operator near his campus. Yeon did this as a means to learn things related to programming science. It was also through this internet cafe that Yeon started his career as a hacker until he became famous throughout cyberspace under the name Hex. This afternoon Yeon suddenly got a message from another hacker asking about the difference between Hex and a hacker named You-know-what. You-know-what, he is a hacker who is famous for draining companies of money, one of which is Yeon's father's company. However, after the case was reported to the police, this hacker disappeared. This is what makes it difficult for the police to investigate Yeon's father's case. You-know-what is so clever it also uses various IP devices and providers to erase traces of crimes. As soon as he saw the name You-know-what being compared to him, Yeon immediately sent his CV and several records of his achievements during his career as a hacker. In another place, someone receives a reply to a message from Hex. He reads Hex's track record, which often exposes financial companies that are involved in corruption cases. Notes from this Hex made this person interested and began to investigate the personal identity of the Hex. It turns out that the person who sent the message to Hex was Hyun-Seok. She is one of 2 members of the Better World Club. Better World itself is a secret hacker organization disguised as a retro gaming club on campus. The organization only has 2 members apart from Hyun-Seok. The other member is a man named Manguk. After Hyun-Seok investigated a famous hacker named Hex, she found out that Hex was their campus friend, and therefore Hyun-Seok intends to invite Hex to come and join the Better World Club tonight. However, while he was seriously reading the message, Joo-hee suddenly came to the internet cafe and asked Yeon to go out to drink soda. Yeon, who has feelings for Joo-hee, definitely won't refuse her invitation. It turns out Joo-hee did this because she was happy. Joo-hee looks very happy because she is starting to get attention from the man of her dreams, namely Chan-ho. Without paying attention to Yeon, Joo-hee said that she had admired Chan-ho since high school. This makes Yeon feel hurt and jealous, but he holds it in as hard as he can and lets Joo-hee express all her feelings. On campus, Yeon tries to find out who sent him a message last night. He also tried various methods but in vain, until finally he received a message from B to come to a place that was still in the campus area. When Yeon was seriously looking at the building plan, suddenly Chan-ho came. Luckily, Yeon was able to divert his attention by inviting Chan-ho to chat. It turns out the message said that Yeon had to come to the hall, which is located in the basement of the old building. The hall was known to be so scary that not a single student dared to go there. However, to satisfy his curiosity, Yeon finally dared to go there. He, who was initially doubtful, tried to convince himself that he was indeed the chosen human being invited to the club. Unfortunately, the place was dark and made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up because Yeon couldn't get rid of his fear until he ran and intended to escape from there because he saw an apparition. But when Yeon was about to leave, he met Joo-hee, who turned out to be she. Therefore, since Joo-hee was also there, Yeon wasn't afraid anymore. He even laughed even though he was walking in a very dark building hallway. It turns out that without them realizing it, the scary building hallway was deliberately made by Hyun-Seok and Man-guk to test Yeon's courage before they joined this club. A few moments later, Yeon and Joo-hee managed to arrive at the Better World room. They finally met Man-guk and Hyun-Seok in person. Man-guk also explained that Better World is a secret organization whose mission is to make the world better through the world of hackers. The club does not stand alone but is part of a global alliance. With the same mission, Hyun-Seok wants to invite Yeon to join the club. Meanwhile, Joo-hee, because she was Yeon's friend, Hyun-Seok also invited her to join because she knew that Joo-hee's presence meant a lot to Yeon. After hearing Hyun-Seok and Man-guk's explanation, Yeon thought that this was just an unreasonable game for college kids. He also didn't believe in Better World as a hacker organization until Hyun-Seok mentioned the death of Yeon's father in 2017, which was caused by you-know-what hacking and taking customer money from Yeon's father. The money caused his father to commit suicide because he continued to get pressure from his customers. Hearing his father's case mentioned, Yeon immediately felt very angry. All this time he thought that hacker was a criminal who made his father and then committed suicide. But Man-guk tried to calm Yeon and said that not all hackers are criminals. Hyun-Seok also reassured Yeon and said that she was willing to help Yeon to reveal you-know-what and solve the case. After meeting the Better Word Club, which was a little confusing, now Yeon goes back to the internet cafe to work. However, Yeon didn't focus and looked dazed because he felt a dilemma, until his boss came to reprimand Yeon. Yeon's boss suddenly told Yeon that he had to do whatever needed to be done. While Yeon was still young, he believed that Yeon could do it. If only Yeon was still confused, at least Yeon should try it first. Even though Yeon's boss doesn't know what made Yeon confused, this advice from his boss made Yeon plan the right decision. And elsewhere, Joo-hee's father met his friend at a coffee shop. The person offered Joo-hee's father to invest in his company using Bitcoin. He said many times that this was not a scam and that no matter how small the amount of money invested would double in the future. Joo-hee's father, who was just a teacher with a modest income, was finally interested in his friend's offer, especially when his friend mentioned Joo-hee as an art student who needed a lot of money. Especially if Joo-hee's father has retired, then he has to prepare a pension fund for Joo-hee's needs before his son gets a job. In the evening, Joo-hee, who had just arrived home, found her father acting strangely. Joo-hee's father was seen taking notes enthusiastically, then suddenly entered the room quickly. Finally, Joo-hee found evidence that her father had just read a brochure about an online investment seminar. So Joo-hee immediately concluded that her father was interested in this, and therefore Joo-hee called Yeon and asked for help to help her father not be fooled by fraud under the guise of investment. After getting a call from Joo-hee, Yeon immediately rushed to learn about this company. He invites Hyun-Seok and Man-guk to arrest the company, and the next day, the fake investment seminar was held. You can see Joo-hee's father arriving and being greeted by his friends there. Yeon quietly slipped into the building. He is currently in the toilet hiding and carrying out his mission to ruin the seminar that will be held by this company. To carry out this task, Yeon was assisted by Man-guk, whose role was to hack CCTV cameras. Apart from that, Hyun-Seok also collaborated. She disguised himself as a building toilet cleaner. Returning to the seminar, while in the middle of the explanation, suddenly the monitor screen displaying the material turned off. And a few moments later the lights came back on, but the screen showed a video from the CCTV camera. Everyone watched the video. The video shows Joo-hee's father's friend talking to his friend. He clearly said that after his fraud was successful he would flee to a Southeast Asian country. He even said that the people he managed to deceive were stupid. And it turns out that Joo-hee was the one who played a role in recording their conversation. There he placed a cell phone which was used to record the fraudster's conversations. And after the video ended, people felt angry and they all immediately left because it turned out they had been lied to. And after successfully uncovering this fraud case, now Better World officially consists of 4 people, namely Hyun-Seok, Man-guk, Yeon, and also Joo-hee. They also held drinks to celebrate today's success. Here, Joo-hee feels very grateful to her friends because they managed to save her father from a fraudulent investment case. But suddenly, while they were having fun, Chan-ho called Joo-hee. Because she didn't expect to be called, she immediately came out and answered the call from Chan-ho. Seeing this, Yeon felt jealous. But even though he didn't say it, Hyun-Seok knew this and therefore she advised Yeon to immediately express his feelings before it was too late. While taking Joo-hee home, Joo-hee accidentally almost fell. Luckily, Yeon immediately caught it. This opens Joo-hee's eyes to the fact that she has had feelings for her best friend all this time. In the evening, Yeon invited Chan-ho to meet. But Yemin's sudden offer made Chan-ho curious. Then Yemin said that since high school he had wanted to get to know Chan-ho better, especially since they were known as Rank 1 and Rank 2. They also made small talk to get to know each other until Chan-ho said that he wanted to approach Joo-hee, Yemin's best friend. At first, Yemin was shocked by Chan-ho's story. He secretly felt disappointed with himself. Yemin also realized that he had lost his speed in expressing his feelings for Joo-hee. Unfortunately, Yemin can't do anything. He couldn't possibly stop Joo-hee from dating the man of her dreams. While at work, he, who was still feeling confused because he saw the closeness of Joo-hee and Chan-ho, was suddenly shocked by a notification that the hacker you-know-what would be back in action again. It turned out that a few days earlier, meanwhile, Joo-hee's father, who had almost been cheated by his friend, was still not deterred and continued to be interested in Bitcoin and intended to invest online. However, yesterday's events had made him cautious. He also called Yemin and asked about Bitcoin because he knew Yemin was a computer science student. Joo-hee's father asked for details because he wanted to invest his money in a financial company called Na-youngLoay. Well, back today, when Yemin got a new notification from the hacker you-know-what, he became very enthusiastic. Because all this time he had been waiting for the hacker to reappear. He was also surprised because in the upload he openly said that he would break into Na-youngLoay's cyber system. At that moment, Yemin remembered Joo-hee's father's investment yesterday. After finding out that you-know-what was surprising to Na-youngLoay, Yemin immediately contacted his friends in the better world. He wants to save Joo-hee's father who is investing and also wants to know the real identity of the hacker you-know-what. All this time, Yemin wanted to meet you-know-what and ask him to take responsibility for the data leak case that happened to his father in 2017. Unfortunately, after Yemin stated his intention to arrest you-know-what, Hyun-Seok and Man-guk refused because they wanted to rest more. Formally, at least they need time to develop a strategy because this hacker is not a tin pot hacker. However, Yemin didn't want to wait any longer. He wanted to move immediately and didn't care if he had to complete the mission alone. Yemin's words were not joking. He wanted to investigate his father's case through Na-youngLoay. He planned to lure you-know-what out of hiding. And because of that, Yemin intends to steal Na-youngLoay's client data and drain all of the client's investment money. And Yemin will move faster ahead of the hacker you-know-what. Yemin's plan makes Hyun-Seok and Man-guk confused, because Yemin suddenly disappeared. Hyun-Seok even had to call Joo-hee and ruin Joo-hee and Chan-ho's date to look for Yemin. Because Joo-hee was worried and unfocused, she immediately said goodbye to Chan-ho and completely ruined the date she had been dreaming of. While looking for a taxi, Joo-hee turns out to have been picked up by Hyun-Seok and Man-guk. Elsewhere, it turns out someone is monitoring Better World activities. Is he a hacker you-know-what? Meanwhile, we are shown notifications from customers who are now shocked because their money was drained by hackers, and this makes everyone panic, including Joo-hee's father. That night, after the Better World team finally managed to find Yemin, Yemin also told him about his plan to steal Na-youngLoay's client data. To realize that plan, Yemin had to break into it directly from the data security system center located in the Na-youngLoay company building. That means Yemin also has to sneak into the building and carry out his plan quickly. After hearing about Yemin's mature strategy, Hyun-Seok immediately helped Yemin. She will help Yemin from outside the building, and we are taken to the scene at the beginning of the film. Yemin, who managed to steal data and make the Na-youngLoay system fall apart, unfortunately, was caught by the guards there. When Yemin almost left the building, he was confronted by a larger number of security officers. Man-guk decides to go inside and save Yemin. Meanwhile, initially, Yemin tried to buy time and look for a way to escape. However, because he was increasingly under pressure, he took out a self-defense technique that he had learned in high school. Man-guk was shocked because when he arrived it seemed that the guards had been defeated by Yemin. After completing their mission, everyone decided to stop by a beach and spend the night at the nearest guest house there. We are also shown a scene where Joo-hee and Yemin are now getting closer and showing their feelings for each other. Then, the next day, Joo-hee was seen panicking because she couldn't contact Yemin. She immediately asked Hyun-Seok and Man-guk, and they both have expressions on their faces that indicate that Yemin is now acting alone to meet the hacker you-know-what. Meanwhile, Yemin comes to the empty building as a meeting point with you-know-what. There he came alone until he discovered the fact that you-know-what was Chan-ho. This of course made Yemin feel very surprised. He didn't expect Chan-ho, who was his high school friend, to be so jealous that he would commit this crime against him. It turns out that Chan-ho has been feeling jealous of Yemin because he is less popular than Yemin in high school even though he is the first-ranked student every year. Plus, he heard a conversation between students saying that Yemin found it easier to socialize and make friends compared to Chan-ho. After that, Yemin was beaten severely without mercy. Without even giving Yemin a chance to fight, Chan-ho immediately ordered his men to finish off Yemin. At first, Chan-ho thought he would win, especially when he took the USB from Yemin which contained data and money belonging to Na-youngLoay customers. When Chan-ho was about to leave, he immediately plugged the USB into his cell phone because he wanted to immediately celebrate his victory. However, Chan-ho was wrong. The USB sent a virus that managed to damage his data network. At the same time, Yeon-bin managed to get up and he immediately hit Chan-ho until the man lost and fell on the floor. Not long after, there were police sirens and Chan-ho's men immediately ran away. And we are taken to a flashback of Yeon-bin's success in tricking Chan-ho. Due to the success of their mission last night, Yeon-bin's actions paid off. The hacker you-know-what finally contacted Yeon-bin and asked him to hand over Agila 1's client data to him. For this reason, Yeon-bin entered all the data obtained into a small USB, and after that, Yeon-bin will exchange the USB for information about his father's case with you-know-what. However, before Yeon-bin could realize his plan, Manguk gave him an idea. He would exchange the USB with a fake USB. Even though the shape looks the same, the fake USB is a listening device that can record images and sounds so that it can be used as evidence if you-know-what is the perpetrator behind Yeon-bin's father's case. Manguk also said that fake USBs can also store viruses that can damage the cell phone's operational system. Finally, Chan-ho was arrested by the police, and this incident attracted public attention because millions of cryptocurrencies were deleted from the system. However, a few days later this incident would be quickly forgotten by the public, even though it took Yeon-bin years to catch the hacker you-know-what who turned out to be his high school friend. After this case ended, he returned to work at the internet cafe, while the Better World Club was closed because their space would be occupied by another club. However, they don't stop. Better World will continue to run wherever it is. Because after all, they will carry out a mission to make the world better from the eyes of a hacker. And the film ended.